Can you even pay for this, ape? The waiter's voice cracked through the polished silence of the downtown restaurant. Forks froze midair. Conversations died. At the corner table, Harold Brooks, an elderly black man leaning on his cane, looked up slowly. His eyes didn't flare, they sank, like someone who had carried insults heavier than silver trays. The manager's finger hovered inches from his face, sharp as a knife. A couple of diners pulled out their phones, recording. Evan Miles, Harold's assistant, bent down, his ear near Harold's lips. Harold whispered 4 words, steady as steel, cancel the deal. $4 billion. Evan's jaw tightened, his hand gripping the contract folder. Across the room, the waiter smirked, waiting for laughter. Instead, the silence thickened until even the chandeliers seemed to strain. Harold had come here quietly, dressed simply, no fanfare. His presence was never about spectacle. But the restaurant manager saw only skin, age, and a cane. Tables like these aren't for charity cases, the man sneered, his words meant to draw chuckles. A woman at the next table hid her eyes, another recorded in disbelief. Harold's hand trembled slightly, not from fear, but from the memory of 1,000 doors once closed in his face. Evan leaned closer, whispering, "Sir, they're watching." Harold replied softly, "Good. Let them." The insult wasn't just about him, it was a mirror held up for every pair of eyes in the room. Phones kept filming. The humiliation wasn't private anymore. Somewhere, someone muttered, "He's just an old man." But Harold wasn't just an old man. He was the buyer, the one holding the pen above a $4 billion deal that would have made this chain a giant. The manager pressed on, voice loud enough for the whole room. "Maybe order something you can afford, water is free." The insult detonated in the air. Harold didn't move. His silence was louder than any outburst. Evan, stiff beside him, pulled out the contract papers. The logo of the restaurant's parent company shone at the top, bold ink on white. Harold's finger tapped once on the signature line, then slid the pen away. "Not here. Not with them." He didn't raise his voice, but every ear in the restaurant caught the words. Evan rose, his tone cold and final, "The acquisition is cancelled. Effective immediately." Gasps rippled across the tables. Someone dropped a wine glass, shattering like the deal itself. The manager's smirk cracked. He had mistaken a king for a beggar. Now, every phone recording had captured the cost of his arrogance, a $4 billion humiliation. News traveled faster than the waiter could stammer an apology. Investors' phones buzzed. Within minutes, the parent company's stock began to slip. The boardroom downtown lit up with frantic calls. At the restaurant, the waiter's face drained as Evan announced clearly for the cameras, "Disrespect has consequences. This establishment just lost its future." Harold stood slowly, cane pressing against the polished floor. His eyes swept the silent crowd, not with revenge, but with disappointment deep enough to hollow the room. A young Hispanic chef pushed through the kitchen doors, apron stained, voice shaking, "Mr. Brooks, on behalf of us who work here, I am sorry. We never wanted this." Harold's gaze softened. He placed a steady hand on the chef's shoulder. "Then help fix it. Build something better than this." The cameras caught the moment, the shame, the plea, the unexpected ally. By dawn, headlines blazed, "Racist insult costs restaurant $4 billion deal." Analysts spoke of stock crashes, but ordinary people spoke of dignity. Harold never returned to that restaurant, but he didn't vanish either. Days later, he announced his conditions: no partnership unless the chain created a cultural reform program, a scholarship for immigrant chefs, and a public code of conduct against humiliation. This time, the world was listening. At his office, Evan asked if he regretted walking away. Harold touched the worn head of his cane and said quietly, "Money rebuilds. Respect once lost, takes longer." Outside, a crowd gathered, not to cheer wealth, but to honor a man who had shown that silence and a single sentence could turn arrogance into ashes. Somewhere in America, viewers nodded at their screens, feeling both the sting of injustice and the rare satisfaction of seeing it reversed.